Lessons from my perfect messy journey. And it's been messy. Talk about non-traditional route to the things I've done. Yes, I've written a couple books, I've spoken, I did the traditional thing, and I had several other different businesses that I created. So I hope in some ways I share this journey with you. You'll learn some lessons along this journey. There's this old wise man in the Himalayan mountains, and he'd come down to the village to entertain the villagers. He was a psychic. And so he would read what's on people's minds. He would read what's in their boxes. There was a group of boys, and one of those boys thought that he would prove that this old wise man was a fraud. And so he decided that he would capture a bird, and he would place that bird in his hands like this. And he'd ask this psychic, this man, this old wise man, what was in his hands. And of course the man would say, it's a bird. Then he would ask the question, is the bird dead or is the bird alive? And if the man said the bird was alive, he would crush the bird in his hands and present a dead bird, which is kind of sad, right? But if he said the bird was dead, he'd open his hands and the bird would fly away. So the old man was coming down, and this boy rushed and got a bird, clasped it in his hands, and he asked the old man, old man, what's in my hands? And the man said, it's a bird. Yes. Is the bird dead or alive? And the old wise man said this. He said, the bird is as you choose it, which was wise, which proved that he wasn't a fraud. But it's a good way to start my journey off because it's how you choose it as well. I made a lot of choices, and I'm going to take you on this journey. I'm going to tell you about the lows, the places I failed miserably, and then some things happened that were good, and then some things happened that were really hard. So I want to take you on that journey. Picture me when I was about 7 years old, 6 or 7, and my sister and my mom. My father had left my mother with nothing. She abandoned us when I was about 2 to 3 years of age. Just gone, out of the picture. And I remember my mom getting up early in the morning and taking us to the babysitter on this long walk. It was dark, and when she would pick us up, it was also dark, and she'd always be dressed really nicely. She was a secretary for a downtown business, and she'd take the bus. And I don't ever remember my mom taking a handout from anybody, the government or anybody. She persevered through a big obstacle in her life, and spent a lot of time with my sister and I on top of it, though I know she was tired, and she instilled in me a love of reading. She instilled in me a love of learning, which you'll see that flame got put out for a little while in my life, but was rekindled later on. She was my hero. The happy part of that story is when I was 7, she married my father. He adopted my sister and I, and he was also a hero in my life. The one thing that I've learned in life is you need people who can tell you you can do it. You need people around you. We call these support groups. You need mentors who can guide you, who can tell you like it is, tell you the truth, but also guide you in that journey to give you some hope. During my childhood, I had a great childhood. During my childhood, I was always trying to make money off the neighborhood kids. I had carnivals in my backyard, all these games. I wouldn't say they were rigged, but they definitely were in favor of me and my buddies who put the carnivals on. I remember borrowing my sister's easy bake oven, and making cakes and stuff and popping popcorn. Anyways, I always found myself trying to make money any way I could. And that was kind of the first starts of me thinking, I think it was innate in me to want to make money like this, but not work for people. Because I had a variety of jobs. Even when I was young, I remember working in my dad's paint store, hated it. I remember digging ditches, hated it. I remember cleaning buildings, hated it. Landscaping, hated it. I even had a job. It lasted 1 day. And that job was, I was a waiter in a fancy Italian restaurant, white linen cloths, and the owner of the company, for some reason, allowed me to serve him and his guests. And I remember coming out with this plate of linguini, and I go to one of his guests that he was entertaining, one of his friends, and I present it to her, and I wasn't paying attention to the way the plate was, and the whole plate of linguini dropped in her lap. And that was my last day of that job. I was done. In fact, I tried to do it in AI. Because I had these skills in computer-based training, I started a company called Covenant Multimedia. And I actually got some clients. It was a surprise. It wasn't enough to start a business, full-time, but it was enough to do part-time. I remember working with a client, Metropolitan Lighting Fixture Company, and others. This is a multimedia program that I built out in something that was called Macromedia Director. And back then, you used to have to do a little bit of programming, too. Today, it's really easy to do these things, but it wasn't so easy back then. And this was a marketing piece as well as a training piece. And so I love this. I found my passion, my sweet spot. I would work on this. I'd go to work all day, and then I'd come home and work on this all night. And I started getting more and more clients this way, which is a wonderful time. Then 2000s come, and this is a big turning point in my life. It was in 2006 that I got offered a position with the company. It was going to pay me $40,000 more than I was making a year. And it was a new opportunity to do something that this company was not doing. And I thought, this sounds like a no-brainer, $40,000 more doing something different? And I talked to my dad. I remember my dad saying, yeah, it's a no-brainer. You should do it, Mike. Look at the money. Look at the opportunity. Talked to my wife. She said the same thing. But every time I thought about it, I struggled feeling good about it. And I'm a religious person. I would pray about it. I didn't feel good when I would pray about it. No matter where I turned, I never felt good about it. But I took it. And 2 years later, I was laid off. 2 years of my career that I wish I could have gotten back. It was not, I hated every bit of it. Another lesson for you. Go with your gut. Pay attention to what you're being told. Think it through. Cross your T's, dot your I's. Figure it out, what it is that you should do. But think it out. Don't just jump at something because of the money, for example, because that was the situation with me. I believe that passion will lead to money, but you got to get the passion first. And so for me, this is a big deal. I get laid off, the hardest time of our life. We go 1 year of barely holding on to our home. I remember when $10 or $20 was a lot of money for us, I think. And for a year, this was hard. But you know what? Something I was taught during this? I told myself, never, ever will a company dictate my financial future. We didn't save very well. I had 401k, but we were tapping into that because we didn't have any money. I was laid off. In fact, I was told that I was health food, that my department was healthy. We all were doing good things for the company, but they were on a fast food diet. So one of the things I do is I go to the president of this company, who is a kind and generous man and is to this day. And I said, hey, what if you read this book for me? And if you like it, you purchase the training and I'll train your team for free. This is one of the ways to get into speaking, by the way, is to do things for free. The program was about $2,000. The book was called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Some of you that have taken my classes, my team's classes, you know what book I'm referring to. And he agreed to it. He agreed to it. So I do the training, and then before you know it, I'm doing it in other offices, and I knew that would happen. And that sustains us for several years. We're at a much better place than we were that first year. So it's all good. It's during this point that Aetna says, it's towards the end of this, the end of the 2000s, that Aetna comes back and says, hey, how would you like to come back and work for us? I said, I'd love it. So the jump, the jump, should go to jump now. The jump for me was about 2016 when Aetna offered all employees early retirement. If you met an age requirement, a certain amount of years, you got to take early retirement. I thought this is an opportunity for me. I'd been working with a senior leadership team on some training, some team development at this point, because I was doing more of this development, not just for this company I was working for, but I'm doing more of this now. We're told we can take early retirement. Maybe I can do this and I can write a book. So I was working with this senior team, and I discovered as I go around and ask them, where's the problem with the teams? They would always go like this. They pointed everybody except themselves, and I knew that wasn't the truth. Here's a question you should ask yourself all the time. I'm convinced of that. It's 3 words. Is it me? You should always ask that question. That question will lead to personal improvement. It'll help you discover what you're doing to contribute to whatever the problem is. I tell my students, ask, is it me? If you're working and you're having problems with relationships, ask, is it me? If you're having problems in a marriage, ask, is it me? Introspect, self-reflect. And that was me at this point in 2016. I get this offer to do this. I'm working with this team. They're pointing at each other. I created this assessment. It was a 28-question assessment, I think. 5 of it open-ended questions. And the questions are things like, do I pay respect to my team? Do I serve my team? Do I care about my team? Am I kind to my team? Am I positive generally? Do I refrain from being negative? It's those kinds of questions. And when I got done, I asked them what they thought about it. They thought, whoa, this was really good. It's introspective. I didn't realize that about myself. And I said, I got an idea for a book. And so I framed the book based on that assessment. And that book is titled You Are the Team, which Richard talked about. It was during this time, by the way, after I got laid off, that I started creating some companies. So I had Second G, which is a speaking company. And I also did some computer-based training. It did well. I also started a blog in 2008 or so. Nobody was blogging that much back then. I was very consistent in my blogging. And I gained about 35 to 40,000 visitors a month on that blog. I built an email list of about 20,000 people. And I also had a social media presence back then. I don't have any of this now for other reasons we can talk about it another time. But I also had a social media following on Facebook of 35,000 followers on my Teamwork and Leadership page on Facebook. I was exposing this to get more speaking engagements. I got the Snowball going, and it was going really well. I also started a company called Open the Meeting. Very simple idea. I created videos, 2.5 minutes, these little videos with a leader's guide that you could use to open your meeting. And I sold these things for $79 a pop. It was just pictures and sound and words. Today, you can create these very quickly. The technology caught up with me, and I didn't go with it. I wasn't as passionate about it anymore. But this was a good business. I also found a way to monetize my blog. This is back when you click on Google ads. We don't do that much anymore. But when you're on a teamwork and leadership blog, and all of a sudden you see a teamwork or leadership company or something like that, you're going to click on it, and I started making money off of that as well. I learned the beauty of passive income. And when I digitized all of this and people could just download the stuff, I was making passive income, and it was wonderful. I had a little thing on my phone, my email. Whenever a certain email would come in, and go cha-ching, and that was like a video or something that I was selling. So it was great. All right, so let's go back to this point. You Are the Team. The book does really well. You know why? Because I tapped into all those things I'd already built while I was working. My blog, I kept that up. My Open the Meeting, my social media, my list, I could play off of that and sell a lot of copies as a book. So the launch was big. I started getting lots of workshops. I've spoken at some decent-sized companies, Southwest Airlines, MD Anderson, I think it's the largest cancer research facility in the world. I spoke at American Eagle Outfitters. So it was fun. I spoke at a lot of different sizes of companies. And it was a good part of my life. Then I'm doing all this. I take early retirement, and the 2020s hit. Does anybody know what this was? What was it? Yeah, go Bear. It was the start of COVID. He was touching all these microphones after a press conference to just put COVID in everybody's face and say, well, what is this? Look at me, I'll touch all these microphones. And 2 days later, he was diagnosed with what? COVID. And you remember the game, some of you that are basketball fans, the Jazz game and the Oklahoma City Thunder game was canceled, and the world changed. The NBA basically shut down. COVID, just everybody was shutting down. It was a hard time. And so I knew I wasn't going to be able to go speak anymore as much as I was before, because the travel industry crashed. So the speaking industry crashed. So I had to find something different. And fortunately for me, my last engagement, I'm getting ready to come home, and a text pops up. It's from Greg Powell, who's department chair here at SUU in management, or was anyways, in management, and Dean Hall, who was the MBA director at that time. They said, how'd you like to come on as emergency hire? We need somebody to teach management. I said, I'll do it. Here I am 6 years later. So this is what I could say, the sweetest of all my spots. This is where I landed. So when I say the perfect messy journey, I'm not saying the journey was perfect, but I'm saying the end has been absolutely perfect for me, the way it's ended. And I hope there's something you can take from that. So what I wanted to do, like I said, I was going to steal this from Steve Nelson. What questions do you have, or where would you like me to jump in this presentation? Because I've got a lot of lessons to share with you. Yes, please. Find your passion. Okay, good. Let's jump in to find your passion then. Kind of a cute picture, isn't it? All right, this is what I want you to do. Each of these are going to come with an activity, okay, to get you involved. So I want you to think of something that lights you up, something that makes you lose track of time. What is that thing? Is it school? Maybe. Is it reading? Possibly. Is it something you're doing, building your business? Is it pickleball? Whatever it is, I want you to think about that you can share with your neighbor in 2 seconds, and then they're going to turn and do the same thing, okay? All right, ready? You got it in your mind? What's the one thing that you can lose track of time that you absolutely love, that you're passionate about? Go ahead and turn to your neighbor and have that conversation. 4 seconds is all it should take. 2 seconds each. Go.
Cooking.
Okay, that should be enough. That should be enough. All right, I got something else, okay? On the count of 3, I want you all to shout what that thing is on the count of 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. Good, look at all the passion. There's a thing that I teach in my MBA class. I teach a class in authentic leadership called the sweet spot. Your sweet spot are those things that you're better at than most, that you have strong capabilities around, but you're also extremely passionate about it. It's not work for you. That's your sweet spot. I share with my undergraduate students every semester, if you, Sunday night, don't want to go into work Monday, you have the Sunday blues. How many of you had the Sunday blues before? Yeah, because you don't have your passion yet. You will. You will. But if that's you most Sunday nights, then you got to find something else to do to get in that sweet spot. Because, man, the passion will make the money. I remember we had a general manager, a former general manager of the Utah Jazz here speaking one time, and I went and watched it, and he said, he cited a study, and I think it was about $75,000, but he said, after $75,000, money doesn't bring you more happiness. Now, it doesn't mean wanting money is not a bad thing. You can chase the money, but chase the passion first. You know, you talked about something that you really love, that you're passionate about. Could you turn that into something you could do full time? Maybe initially it won't pay you a whole lot, but maybe over time it could because of your passion. So find the purpose, the money will come. Okay? That's passion. Can you tell I'm passionate? I love what I'm doing right now. I am in my sweet spot totally. In fact, I might still be 80 years old working here. I don't know. Would you like that? Probably not. I won't be 80 and working here. Could be late 60s or 70s, early 70s maybe. All right, what's another thing that you want to select from? And if you've got questions, that's fine too. Yeah.
So when it came to like different, I was can't necessarily talk about salary amounts per se, but as it related to different, positions in different companies, what was the interest? What was something you noted between the company values and like yearly salaries? How much did they end up affecting each other?
So the question is, how did the company values and money affect each other?
Yeah.
So give me just a little more.
So like when you notice that company values generally, when the company had higher values that were more aligning, how did that genuinely affect how they necessarily paid their employees? That's what I'm saying, is how did it affect how they treated their employees with payment and other stuff like that?
Yeah, all places that I worked, all 3 were very generous in the way they paid their employees. But they all were very well grounded in values too. We knew what the values were. We knew what the mission was. We knew what the vision was. But we knew what those values were. They were taught to us all the time. Our CEO at Aetna, for example, Mark Bertolini, was very steeped in his values, very strong in his values. So employees were treated really fairly. Yeah, does that help? What's your name again? You were in my class and I know you.
Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew, sorry. Okay, good. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah. I saw another question or place you want to go.
Yeah, build the relationship.
Okay, build the relationship. I love that you selected that. When leaders come to me and they ask me, what's the one thing I could do, Mike, in my leadership? Or they're a new leader, what's the one thing I could do right now? I always tell them, go find somebody to serve. Start serving people on your team. Service is about building the relationship. It's about connecting. We tend to be to ourselves a lot of times and really only think about ourselves. But when we start thinking about others, it changes the game. When we start doing kind things for others, it changes the game. Now, I'm going to give you a team example, but this is going to relate to entrepreneurship that I'll talk about here in a minute. I teach a class an undergraduate class on teams, building effective teams. It's offered this spring, by the way. Let me put a plug in. It's only offered once a year, face-to-face. It's a great class. There's still spots, so if you're interested in that. But one of the assignments I used to have, I don't have it anymore, is I wanted my students to tell me a story of a time when somebody served them, or they served somebody else on the team and it changed the team. And this student had submitted that she was on this project team. How many of you love student project teams? School project teams. Yeah, just a couple of you. That's what I thought. James is pretty honest. But most of us don't like them. And this is one of those cases. Why we don't like them is because other people end up not pulling their share, and we end up doing more than they do, and it's hard, and you can't control anybody but yourself, and I get all of that. And she shared a team like that. She says, I was on this team. We were going to get an F on our group project, no doubt. Nobody cared anymore. Everybody was showing up late. Nobody was committed. She says, but one afternoon in class, it was snowing considerably hard, and she went out. What's the one thing we hate to do when we go to the parking lot to get in our car? Before we get into our car, what do we have to do? Yeah, scrape, brush the snow off. It's a pain, especially if it snowed hard. And she was not looking forward to that. As she got closer to her car, she noticed the snow had already been brushed off. She looks around to see who had done this kind act. It was actually one of her teammates on this team. And he was going around doing this for other team members. I don't know what got into him, but he did this. And she said from that day forward, everything changed on the team. All the dynamics changed. It's something I call the service effect. The service effect. And there's 3 parts to this, and all of this is researched. The first part is connection. When you do something nice for somebody, there's a chemical that's released in your body. Anybody know what it is? Close. Oxytocin. Yeah, oxytocin is the same chemical that's released when the mother feeds her baby. It's a connection chemical. And so you're immediately connected to that person. The second thing that happens when you do something kind for somebody is they want to do something nice for you. We call that the law of reciprocity. That's a proven concept. We want to do something nice in return. And then there's a third I call the law of multiplicity, and there's some research behind this as well. And that is when we do something kind for somebody else, they want to do something kind for us, but they also want to pay it forward 7 more times. So when you get this happening on teams, it's amazing. Now, let's talk about your businesses, because this is entrepreneurship. Let's talk about your business. When you start putting your customers' needs first, when you do something kind for them, you go above and beyond what you're expected to do, what you're contracted to do. You go the extra mile. They don't forget that. People don't forget kind things that you do for them. If you can get this in your mind, sizzled in your brain, this will serve you well all your life. Because business is about relationships. And relationships are built on trust. And connection is a key ingredient to building trust. It is the ingredient to building trust, is connection. So build relationships by serving others. If you chase the money over time, you won't be chasing anything. I'm fully convinced of that. But if you change the purpose, you chase the purpose, you chase the passion, and you chase the opportunity to serve others, everything will change. I learned that as a church missionary. That was one of the lessons I learned. Okay, good. Other? Yes?
I just have a question. How do you prevent yourself from taking your passion and chasing a passion and prevent yourself from turning it into money?
Prevent yourself from turning into money?
Say you have a passion and then eventually it starts getting successful and then you almost lose that passion and you get too focused. Like that's a fear that I kind of have of my passions, is that if I use my passions, they won't become passions anymore.
Oh, so you'll lose the passion.
Yeah.
And therefore, you'll lose the money. So if you chase your passion, you'll get so involved in the passion that you'll eventually lose the passion and you'll lose the opportunity to monetize it anyway as well. Is that right?
Yeah, or just like, it just isn't about your passion anymore. Like,
It's about money.
yeah.
So it's preventing that from coming into your mind. I guess you have to check yourself once in a while, right? You know, that question, is it me? You have to introspect. You have to be self-aware. This is an emotional intelligence characteristic. People who have high levels of emotional intelligence are very self-aware. So you just have to become self-aware throughout that journey and make sure that you're still serving that purpose and you're serving your people. If you start losing that, and you're still making all this money, then I think it's time to reel it back, because you're not going to make as much as you would if you could find an opportunity to serve those people. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a self-awareness thing. It's an emotional intelligence thing. Good. Others? Want me to pick one for you? Which one?
Only have to build the
Oh, yeah, you don't have them up in front of you, of course. Yeah. Oh, I was going to also talk about this concept. Let me do this one really quick. So there's a story told this anthropologist, and he's visiting a remote tribe in Africa. And on his way to visiting this remote tribe, he gathers all this candy in a bigger city. And on the last day when he's leaving, he collects all this candy and he puts it in a basket, and he marches to this large tree. Well, now all these children, these African children, are following him to this tree. He places the candy in the basket there right beneath the tree, and he marches off 100 yards, and he draws a large line in the dirt. And the kids are getting really excited. They're jumping up and down this point. And he says, when I give you a signal, you're to run as fast as you can to the candy. And whoever gets there first gets all the candy for themselves. So he gives the signal, and they immediately stop. And they clasp each other's hands. And they run to the candy together. When they get there, they form a big circle, and they share the candy with each other. Now, this anthropologist, being American, is wondering what's going on, because we're pretty competitive, right? If it's me, I'm getting there and getting the candy for myself. And he asked them, why did you not run there and try to get all the candy for yourselves? And one of these little girls looks up at him, and she says, how can one of us be happy if the others are sad? Africans call this Ubuntu. This is a great principle for you as it pertains to building relationships and service. Desmond Tutu, a South African rights advocate, said that Ubuntu means that my humanity is caught up and bound up in your humanity. I am because we are. Ubuntu is about the fact that when you lose, we all lose. When you succeed, we all succeed. And so for you to build relationships based on this philosophy is a big deal, in my opinion. This is about what service ultimately is. It's Ubuntu. It's celebrating the successes with others. It's looking at the losses and helping where you can. So it's a great philosophy. So can I give you one final story? A chicken and pig, they're going down Main Street. And the chicken turns to the pig as they're seeing all these new restaurants opening up on Main Street serving breakfast. And the chicken says, we ought to open up a restaurant that serves breakfast. And the pig says, that's a great idea. What should we serve? And the chicken says, ham and eggs, of course. The chicken says, wait a second, you're just making a mere contribution. The pig says that. You're just making a mere contribution, Mr. Chicken. I'm making a full-on commitment. Make the commitment. Make the commitment. Live the passion. Make the choice. It's your choice. And you'll do all wonderful things. Your journey may be messy as well, but it's a journey of learning. It's a journey of experimenting. It's a journey of getting feedback. It's a journey of becoming better than you were before. Look at me, F student. I made it work. No matter where you are today, you can make it work. You just got to commit to the process, all right? Okay, thanks, guys.